My mother told me they were stretched thin. The same month she co-signed a $180,000 down payment on my sister's Vancouver condo. I didn't know that yet. I found out 8 months later, alone at 2 in the morning, sitting on the floor of my son's bedroom in Hamilton, Ontario, scrolling through public property records on my phone while the rest of the street slept. By then, Lucas had already been gone for 6 weeks. My son's name was Lucas James Pierce. He was 6 years old. He had my father's laugh and my husband's patience, and the kind of stubborn, whole-body joy that makes a room feel different the second a child walks into it. He called maple syrup tree candy. He wore his hockey jersey to bed every Friday because he said it helped the Leafs win. He was 6 years old, and he was the best thing I had ever done. And he is gone, and my parents had $340,000 sitting in their RRSPs the entire time. They told me they could not help. I need to go back. I need you to understand how we got here, because if I just tell you the ending, it will sound impossible. Like something you read about in a Reddit thread at midnight and think, surely people don't actually do that. Surely not. They do. I grew up in Oakville, just west of Toronto. My parents were comfortable, in the way that middle-class Ontario families are comfortable. 2 cars in the driveway, a ski trip every February, RESP accounts for both kids, a house in a neighborhood where everyone's lawn was the same shade of well-maintained green. My father, Robert, was a project manager at a civil engineering firm for 30 years. My mother, Linda, worked as an administrative supervisor at a Peel Region Health Office until she retired in 2018. They were not wealthy, but they were not broke. My sister, Melissa, arrived 4 years before me. By the time I was paying attention to these things, the pattern was already so normal it barely registered. Melissa's RESP, when I later found the statements during a move, was funded to $42,000. Mine was $14,500. I remember asking my mother about it once, careful to sound curious rather than hurt, and she had said, "We started earlier for your sister, that's all. Don't worry, we'll help when you need it." I graduated from McMaster in 2013 with $58,000 in student loans. Melissa graduated from Western in 2009, debt-free, with a marketing job at a firm downtown already lined up through my father's colleague. I told myself it didn't mean anything. I told myself they just had more time with Melissa. I was building my own life now. I had Ryan. I met Ryan Pierce in 2014 at a mutual friend's cottage weekend north of Barrie. He was an electrician. He was the kindest person I had ever sat across a fire from. My mother's first question when I brought him home for Thanksgiving was whether he had his ticket or was still working toward it. Her first question about Melissa's boyfriend David, who drove a BMW and worked in finance, was whether he was treating her well. That was the year I noticed the difference in what questions meant. Ryan and I got married in 2016. Small ceremony at the conservation area near Dundas. 40 people. My mother spent most of the reception telling her friends about Melissa's upcoming promotion. My parents gave us $2,000 as a wedding gift. They gave Melissa and David $18,000 the following year, when they put an offer on a house in Oakville. I found that out from my aunt 3 years later, casually, the way family secrets always surface. Lucas was born in July 2016, 2 months after the wedding. He was perfect, and loud, and hungry all the time, and I had never felt anything like it. My parents visited once in his first 3 months. Melissa sent a gift card. We moved to Hamilton in 2018. Ryan had steady work there. I was doing case management at a family services agency, $52,000 a year, work that mattered even when it wore me down. We rented a semi-detached on the mountain. Lucas started junior kindergarten in September 2020. He learned to skate that winter. He was fearless on the ice. In that way, 6-year-olds are fearless, always moving faster than his balance could keep up with, always laughing when he fell. In March 2021, he fell at school and didn't get back up. His teacher called me during a file review. Lucas had fainted at recess. By the time I got to the school, he was sitting up, pale, annoyed about missing outdoor time. The school nurse told me his color wasn't right. We went to the ER at Hamilton General that afternoon. Blood work. More blood work. A call to a specialist. A referral to McMaster Children's Hospital the following morning. The appointment was March 12th, 2021. Ryan took the day. Lucas sat in the back seat, eating a granola bar, and asking if the hospital had a gift shop. He had been to McMaster once before, for a broken wrist. He thought hospitals were interesting. He asked if they had one of those claw machines. We sat in a room on the third floor with a pediatric oncologist named Dr. Patricia Osei. She had kind eyes and she spoke slowly, clearly, watching our faces to make sure the words were landing. Lucas was down the hall in a room with a nurse who had promised him a sticker sheet. "Lucas has relapsed AML," she said. "Acute myeloid leukemia, a second occurrence." His initial presentation had been flagged 6 months earlier, when routine blood work came back abnormal, but we had been told it was likely a transient response to a winter virus. It was not. For relapsed AML, in a pediatric patient, Dr. Osei said, the standard treatment pathway had limited efficacy. There was, however, a newer option. A CAR T-cell therapy that had received Health Canada approval the previous year. It had a projected 5-year remission rate of 71% in patients matching Lucas's profile. Significantly better outcomes than conventional salvage chemotherapy. The problem, she said, and she folded her hands on the desk when she said it, was coverage. The treatment was approved. It was not yet on Ontario's Exceptional Access Program formulary. Our provincial plan, OHIP, did not cover it. Our private insurance through Ryan's union plan covered medications up to $80,000 annually. The therapy cost $420,000. Ryan said something. I don't remember what. I was staring at the wall. After insurance, she said, the gap was approximately $340,000. There was a pause. We could apply to the drug manufacturer's Compassionate Access Program, she said. Processing time 4 to 6 months. No guarantee of approval. We could apply to an Ontario government special authorization. Average approval timeline 8 to 14 months. We could look at clinical trials. Though Lucas's specific mutation profile was a complicating factor. And if we wait, Ryan asked. Dr. Osei was quiet for a moment. With conventional chemotherapy, she said, we can manage the disease for a time. But relapsed AML in a child Lucas's age is aggressive. Without the CAR T therapy, we are looking at a significantly narrowed window. She said months. She did not say how many. Lucas got 3 sticker sheets. He was delighted. He stuck them all to the car window on the way home. That night, after he was asleep, Ryan and I sat at the kitchen table and went through everything. Our savings account, $11,200. Ryan's union pension was locked in, no early withdrawal option. My RRSP, $22,000, taxable on withdrawal at our marginal rate. The home we rented, no equity. No family assets to draw on. We started a GoFundMe the following morning. Ryan wrote it because I kept deleting what I wrote. Every version sounded like giving up. 3 weeks later we had raised $47,000 from 2,400 people. Strangers from across Ontario and BC, and Alberta sending $25 and $50 with notes that said we're praying for Lucas and fight, little guy, fight. I read every single one. We were still $293,000 short. Ryan looked at me across the kitchen table on the night of April 14th, 2021. It was nearly midnight. He had dark circles that had been there for weeks. We need to call your parents. I had not asked my parents for money since I was 22 and needed $400 to cover a gap in first and last month's rent on my first apartment. My mother had given it and mentioned it twice a year for 3 years afterward. But this was Lucas. I called my mother on April 17th. The call was 19 minutes. I have the log. I told her everything. The diagnosis, the relapse, the CAR T therapy, the coverage gap. She made a sound when I told her the number. Oh, honey, that's just devastating. Have you looked into the Ronald McDonald House? They help with travel costs for families. I said it wasn't about travel costs. Another pause. What about a second GoFundMe? Sometimes those get shared on social media and really take off. I told her we already had one. I said we needed $293,000. I said I was asking for help. She said she would talk to my father. She said they would call back. They called back 4 days later. My father did most of the talking. My mother was quiet in the background. "Sweetheart," he said, "we've talked about this at length, and we have to be honest with you about where we are financially. We retired on a fixed income. We have our CPP, our OAS, your mother's pension from Peel Region. Our RRSPs are invested, and the market has been volatile. We lost ground in 2020, and we haven't fully recovered. If we liquidate now, we're looking at significant penalties, and we'd be drawing down the principal we need to live on for the next 20 years. Dad," I said, "Lucas is 6 years old. I know that." His voice stayed even. "We're heartbroken, Sophie. Truly. But we have to be responsible for our own future. We're 67 and 65. What if one of us has a health event? What if we need long-term care? How much do you have in savings?" I asked. "That's a private matter. You know that. I'm asking because my son is dying." A pause. "We don't have the kind of liquidity you're describing. Your RRSP alone," I said. "Sophie." His voice went flat. "We're not having this conversation. I tried every door. Could they take a home equity line on the Oakville house? The market's unpredictable. Could they sell some positions? The timing was wrong. Could they explore a short-term loan using assets as collateral? They didn't want to take on debt at their age. Every door. He closed every one. He said he was sorry. He said they wished they could help. He hung up. Ryan tried. He called my father directly 2 weeks later, without telling me until afterward, because he didn't want to see my face when he did it. My father's response, according to Ryan, was that we needed to explore all available resources before asking family to compromise their retirement security. He said the hospital likely had a social worker who could connect us with emergency funds. He said Ryan should look into whether there was a union hardship fund. Ryan told me about the call, 3 months after Lucas died. He said my father had been polite, formal, like he was talking to an acquaintance, asking for a reference. We flew to Oakville on May 28th on a credit card. It was a Friday. Ryan had taken half a day. We drove straight from the airport to my parents' house on Briar Hill Crescent. My mother opened the door surprised. She smelled like the same Crabtree and Evelyn hand cream she had used my entire life. We sat in the living room. There was a news sectional. A wine rack in the kitchen. I didn't remember from my last visit. The fireplace had been retiled. Natural stone. The kind that runs several $1,000s. I went through everything again. The timeline Dr. Osei had given us. The compassionate access application we had submitted and been told would take months we did not have. The GoFundMe total, sitting at $61,000, which was extraordinary and still not enough, my mother cried. Real tears. She held my hand. "You know we would if we could," she said. "You know that, if we had it, it would already be done. We're trying to protect ourselves, Sophie. We're old. We can't leave ourselves with nothing." "What if Lucas dies?" I said. Her face tightened. "That's not fair. I'm asking. What if he does?" My father leaned forward. "You're putting us in an impossible position. That's emotional manipulation, and you know it. I'm asking you to help save your grandson." He sat back. "We can't. I'm sorry." The new stone fireplace cost approximately $8,400. I looked it up on the flight home. On June 22nd, I asked my parents to visit Lucas at McMaster Children's. I thought if they saw him, if they held his hand and watched him ask the nurses about their weekends, and show them his sticker collection that now took up most of the wall above his bed, something would shift. Something had to. They came on June 25th. My mother hugged him very carefully around the IV lines. She called him her boy. My father sat on the edge of the bed and told him that hockey was going to start up again soon. Lucas asked my father to pick a sticker and put it on his shirt, and my father did, a silver star, and he wore it the whole afternoon, without noticing it was there. They stayed 2.5 hours. They read to him. They laughed at the faces he made at the hospital food. My mother teared up twice. In the parking garage on the way out, I tried one more time. My father shook his head before I finished the sentence. We drove separately. I sat in the car for 15 minutes before I was able to drive. The CAR-T therapy window closed on July 8, 2021. Without the deposit to initiate treatment, the treatment center could not hold the slot. Lucas was transitioned to palliative-focused supportive care. He died on August 17, 2021, at 4:12 inches the morning. Hamilton General, 8th floor. Ryan and I were both there. We had not left the hospital in 4 days. We held his hands. We sang the songs he liked. We told him every good thing we could think of about his whole small life until it was over. My parents flew in for the funeral on August 22nd. They sat near the back. 84 people came. Parents from Lucas's hockey team. Families I had helped at work. People from the GoFundMe who had driven an hour to be there for a child they had never met. My mother came to me by the graveside afterward. Sophie. She reached for my arm. We're so sorry. If there's anything... There was something, I said. My voice was flat. I told you what it was. I walked away. 2 weeks later, a card arrived. Inside was a check for $300. I deposited it and transferred the full amount to McMaster Children's Hospital Foundation in Lucas's name. For 2 months after, I did very little. I went back to work eventually because the bills did not stop. Ryan went back sooner. We moved around each other in the house, like we were both made of something fragile. We started therapy, separately first, then together. We kept going. On October 9, 2021, I was awake at 2 in the morning. I had not slept more than 4 hours in a row since August. I was lying in bed staring at my phone, scrolling with no particular purpose, when I saw my mother's Instagram post. She did not post often, but this one had been up for 6 hours. 6 photos. My sister and David on a balcony overlooking water. Burrard Inlet, a corner unit, floor-to-ceiling windows, white oak floors, a kitchen island the color of sea glass. My mother's caption read, "Visiting Melissa and David's stunning new home. So proud of this family. West Coast living suits them perfectly." 32 likes. Comments about how beautiful it was. I put my phone down. I stared at the ceiling. Melissa had bought a place. The next day I opened my laptop and I found it. British Columbia land title records are public. It took me 40 minutes. 210 West 2nd Avenue, Vancouver. Strata Unit 1407. Purchase price $960,000. Registered owner, Melissa Ann Tremblay and David Tremblay. Date of transfer, September 12, 2021, 3.5 weeks after Lucas's funeral. I pulled up the full transaction. Down payment, $180,000. Guarantors on the mortgage, Robert William Chen, Linda Susan Chen. My parents' names. My hands were shaking. I checked the date again. September 12, 2021. I went back further. I found the purchase agreement date. July 29, 2021. 3 weeks after the CAR-T therapy window closed. 3 weeks after I had been told there was nothing left to try. I printed everything. I found Ryan's old tablet in the kitchen drawer, the one my parents had used to look at family photos when they visited years ago. My mother had never logged out of her email on it. It had been sitting in that drawer for 2 years collecting dust. Ryan found me at the table at 1 in the morning, surrounded by paper. "What is this?" he said, and I slid everything across to him. He read in silence for a long time. His face moved through things I recognized. Then he picked up the tablet and opened the email app and scrolled back. June 3, 2021. My father to my mother, with Melissa copied. Subject line. Vancouver property timeline. The email was 11 lines. I have read it so many times I could recite it. My father wrote that the Vancouver market was softening slightly, but that the right unit at the right price point was still a strong asset. He wrote that Melissa's timing was good. He wrote, Linda and I have discussed Sophie's situation at length. We want to help, of course, but the reality is that a CAR-T treatment outcome is uncertain even under the best conditions. We'd be liquidating a significant portion of our retirement to fund a maybe. Melissa's investment is a certainty. Real estate in that corridor will appreciate regardless of market fluctuation. Family capital should be directed toward family futures. Let's move forward. Family capital should be directed toward family futures. Lucas was not a family future. He was a maybe. He was a gamble. He was 6 years old. I made a document. I needed to see the dates side by side. April 17th, 2021. I called my mother and asked for help. She said they would discuss it. April 21st, 2021. My parents called back. My father said they had no liquidity. June 3rd, 2021. My father's email to my mother and Melissa. Family capital toward family futures. Move forward. July 8th, 2021. CAR-T therapy window closed. July 29th, 2021. Purchase agreement signed for Melissa's Vancouver condo. August 6th, 2021. Wire transfer confirmation. $180,000 from my parents' TD Bank joint account to Melissa and David's escrow. August 17th, 2021. Lucas died. September 12th, 2021. Land title transferred. Melissa officially owned the unit. Ryan read the document. He put it down. He didn't say anything for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was very quiet. They had the money the whole time. I called my mother on February 2nd, 2022. She answered before the second ring was finished. Sophie. Her voice cracked on the single syllable. Oh, Sophie. I'm so glad. I'm so glad you called. I told her I wanted to try, that I wanted to start over, that I thought we should have dinner, all of us, talk through things, find a way forward, she cried. She said yes immediately. Absolutely, of course. She said she would call Melissa. She said she had been waiting every day for this. We booked flights that week. Ryan asked if I was certain. I showed him the folder on my laptop. I'm certain. March 5th, 2022. We drove from Pearson to Oakville. Melissa's Lexus was already in the driveway. My mother opened the door before we knocked. She pulled me into her arms and held on. She smelled like that same hand cream. For 1 second I let myself feel what that used to feel like. Then I stepped back. My father shook Ryan's hand. He looked smaller than I remembered. Melissa was in the kitchen with David. She smiled when she saw me, warm and a little careful. Hey sis, it's been too long. Yeah, I said. It has. My mother had made a full dinner. Roasted chicken, roasted potatoes, a salad with those little seeds she always put on. There was a bottle of Ontario VQA on the table. She had set the table with the good dishes, the ones from my grandmother. The first 20 minutes were small talk. David talked about a deal his firm was closing. My mother asked Ryan about a project he was on in Burlington. My father asked how I was adjusting back to work. I said fine. Then my mother turned to Melissa. Tell Sophie about the place. Did you see the photos? Isn't the inlet view just breathtaking? Melissa smiled. We got lucky with the unit. Corner suite. 14th floor. The light in the mornings is just unbelievable. When did you close? I asked. September, I think. Melissa reached for her water glass. September 12th. And when did you first make the offer? She paused. I think end of July. It moved quickly. Why? I reached into my bag. I placed the folder on the table. I opened it to the first page. This is Lucas's death certificate, I said. August 17th, 2021. I held it up so everyone could see it. Then I turned to the next page. This is the BC land title record for Unit 1407 at 210 West 2nd Avenue, Vancouver. Purchase price $960,000. Down payment $180,000. Guarantors: Robert William Chen and Linda Susan Chen. Date of transfer: September 12th, 2021. My mother's face had gone the color of the tablecloth. I continued. This is the wire transfer confirmation. I slid it across the table. August 6th, 2021. $180,000 from your TD joint account to Melissa and David's escrow account. 11 days before Lucas died. 3 weeks before you sat in the back row at his funeral. My father's jaw had tightened. Sophie, he said. This is out of context. This, I said, is the email. I read it aloud, every word. When I got to family capital, should be directed toward family futures, my voice broke for the first time. I kept reading. When I finished, the table was silent. Melissa was staring at her plate. David had not moved. You told me, I said to my father, that you had no liquidity. He stood up. Our investments were in long-term positions. Liquidating would have triggered. You wired $180,000 11 days before my son died. I kept my voice level. You wrote an email saying he was a gamble not worth taking. You said Melissa's condo was a certainty, and Lucas was a maybe. We were trying to do what was right for the whole family, my mother said. Her voice was trembling. We have to think about everyone, not just Lucas, I said. She flinched. My father's voice rose. You want to know the truth? Fine. The survival rate for CAR-T in relapsed AML is not 100%. It's not even 80%. We would have spent $300,000 of our retirement savings on a treatment that might not have worked. And then what? We'd have been destitute at 67, with nothing left, and you'd be in the same position you're in right now. I looked at him. So he wasn't worth the risk. That's not what I... Say it, I said quietly. Say what you wrote. Say he was a maybe. His voice dropped. He was a gamble. His odds were not. He was 6 years old. My voice was very steady. He wore his hockey jersey to bed on Fridays because he thought it helped the Leafs. He stuck stickers on every surface he could reach. He called maple syrup tree candy. He was 6 years old, and you chose a condo view over his life. You chose Melissa's morning light over his heartbeat. You chose to protect your retirement account, and now he is in the ground, and I want you to look at me and say that was the right call. My father said nothing. My mother was crying into her hands. Melissa spoke for the first time in several minutes. Her voice was quiet. Val Sophie. I didn't know the details of what was happening with Lucas. Mom and Dad made a financial decision. I thought they were just helping us out. Did you ask? I said. She did not answer. I stood up. I looked at all of them. You're not my family, I said. You're investors who calculated the return on my son and decided he wasn't worth the portfolio risk. I want you to keep that folder. Frame it. Put it next to the window with the inlet view. Ryan stood up. His chair scraped the floor. We're done here. We walked out. My mother called after me. I heard my father's voice, something sharp and defensive. The door closed. We drove to the airport in silence. Ryan got the last 2 seats on a 9 o'clock flight back to Toronto. He held my hand through the whole flight, and I sat there watching the lights below and thought about Lucas's face the afternoon. The nurse gave him 3 sticker sheets, and how pleased he had been, how completely and simply pleased, and I cried for a long time. What followed was 2.5 years of silence. My mother called 41 times in the first week. I did not answer. I changed my number in April. My father sent emails I deleted without opening. Melissa texted once, 6 weeks later. I read the preview. I just want you to know. I had no idea about any of it. I didn't respond. I blocked the number. I stayed in therapy. Ryan and I stayed in it together. We planted a sugar maple in our backyard for Lucas. It turned gold every October. I went back to work and eventually found my way into a role with a provincial child welfare advocacy organization. 68,000 a year. Kids who had been failed by the people who were supposed to show up for them. I understood them in a way I could not have before. In the spring of 2023, Melissa tried to reach me through LinkedIn. I saw the message preview. She said she was sorry. She said she wanted to make it right. I archived the conversation and did not return to it. I thought I was finished with all of it. I thought the chapter was closed. And then my phone rang. November 14th, 2023. Unknown number. I was at my desk at work, writing up a placement review for a 12-year-old girl who had been through 4 foster families in 18 months. Hello, heavy breathing. Then, Sophie. Sophie, it's your mother. Please don't hang up. My hand tightened on the phone. It's Melissa. She's sick. She collapsed 3 weeks ago. They ran tests. It's kidney failure. Both kidneys. A condition called FSGS. It's rapid onset. She's on dialysis 3 times a week, but the doctors say she needs a transplant. They've tested everyone. Dad and I don't match. David doesn't match. They said siblings have the best chance. Sophie, you're the only sibling she has. Please. How did you get this number? I asked. That doesn't matter. I don't have a sister. I hung up. I sat at my desk for a long time. Then I typed the rest of the placement review and sent it before the end of the day, because a 12-year-old girl deserved to have someone finish their paperwork. Ryan came home and found me sitting in the kitchen in my coat still on. I told him about the call. He made tea and sat across from me. He did not tell me what to do. He has never told me what to do. 4 days later, I received a call from a transplant coordinator at Toronto General named Marcus Webb. Professional, measured voice, the kind of voice designed to give people information without pressure. He told me Melissa had been listed for a deceased donor kidney, but that her blood type and antibody profile were complex, and her wait time was estimated at 3 to 5 years. On dialysis, at her current rate of decline, 3 to 5 years was not guaranteed. Living donor was the best option. He asked if I was willing to be tested. He said it was a simple blood draw. No obligation beyond that. I said I would think about it. Of course, he said. But I want to be honest with you about the timeline. I agreed to the test. I told myself it was just information. I went to a LabCorp clinic in Hamilton on a Thursday morning before work. 3 vials. They told me results in 10 days. Marcus called me 8 days later. Sophie, your cross-match came back. You're a strong compatible donor. Blood type match, 4 out of 6 HLA antigens. It's not a perfect match, but it's very good, significantly above average for an unrelated or distant match. For a sibling, it's actually on the lower end, but given Melissa's antibody profile, you're still her best available option by a significant margin. The National Registry has been running searches for 8 months with no viable deceased donor. And if I say no, she stays on the registry. She continues dialysis. Her nephrologist has been honest with her that kidneys don't survive 3 to 5 years of high-intensity dialysis in every case. I said I needed time. I called my therapist, Dr. Ana Ferreira, and she saw me the next day on short notice. We sat in her office on King Street, with the November light flat and gray through the window, and I told her everything. If I donate, I said, they win. My parents get what they want. Melissa gets what she wants. Nobody faces any real consequence. Lucas is still dead, and everyone just moves on. Anna looked at me. Who wins if you don't? I was quiet for a long time. I become them, I said finally. She leaned forward. She said, if Lucas were here right now, what would he tell you to do? I closed my eyes. I saw him. 6 years old, silver star sticker on his shirt, asking the nurse what her favorite kind of sticker was. He would tell me to do it, I said. Anna nodded slowly. You already know the answer, she said. I called Marcus Webb on November 28th at 9 in the morning. "I'll do it," I said. "But I have conditions. I don't want contact with my parents before or after. I don't want Melissa to approach me at the hospital. I'll do the donation and I'll go home." He said he could arrange all of that. Private pre-op, private recovery, security briefed. He thanked me. "I'm not doing it for her," I said. "I know," he said. "But it matters regardless." The surgery was scheduled for December 19th. Ryan drove me to Toronto General on the 18th. I had a private room in the surgical prep wing. I had been told my parents would be in a separate family area on a different floor. I had been told Melissa would not approach me. I was in pre-op being assessed when the door opened and Melissa walked in. She looked terrible. Her face was gray-yellow, the color of someone whose kidneys have been failing for months. She was thin in a way that made her look older than 41. She stood just inside the doorway. I said, "I ask that this not happen." "I know." She didn't move from the doorway. "I know. And I'm sorry. I just need 2 minutes, and then I'll go, and I'll never ask anything from you again." I didn't speak. "I didn't know," she said. "I want to be clear. I knew you'd ask them for help. I knew it was serious. I did not know about the email. I did not know about the timing of the wire transfer. Mom and Dad told me they were helping me as a graduation gift because David had just made director. I did not find out until after Lucas died. When Mom said something one night about the property timeline, and I asked questions, and it started to come apart, I confronted them. It was bad. We didn't speak for 6 months. She paused. That doesn't change what happened. It doesn't bring Lucas back. And I understand if you can't forgive any of us, but I wanted you to know that I am sorry. Not because I need your kidney. Because I have thought about Lucas every single day for 2 years, and I am so sorry." I looked at her for a long time. "Okay," I said. She blinked. "Just okay?" "What do you want me to say?" I said. "That I forgive you. I don't know yet. Maybe someday. I don't know." I told her to go back to her room. She turned to leave. "Melissa." She stopped. "Lucas would have wanted me to do this. That's why I'm here. Remember that." She left. The nurse came back, and I lay there staring at the ceiling tiles until the anesthesiologist arrived. The surgery was 4 hours. I woke up in recovery with Ryan's hand around mine, and a soreness in my lower back that lasted 3 weeks. The nurse told me everything went well. She told me Melissa was in surgery now. I told her not to give my room number to anyone. She said it was already on the file. Marcus called me 9 days later. The transplant was a success. Melissa's creatinine levels were responding well. Early indicators were strong. He said she wanted to reach out. I said not yet. He respected that. 3 months after I was home, a letter arrived at my Hamilton address. The envelope was my mother's handwriting. I recognized it immediately and stood in the front hallway holding it for 5 minutes before I opened it. She wrote that she had no defense. She wrote that she and my father had been in therapy for over a year, separately and together, trying to understand how people who loved their daughter had become people who could do what they had done. She wrote that they had not stopped thinking about Lucas since the dinner in Oakville. She wrote that they had listed the Briar Hill house, and it had sold, and they had taken the proceeds and donated them in full to McMaster Children's Hospital, directed specifically to the Pediatric Oncology Fund. She included the receipt, $612,000. The Lucas James Pierce Pediatric Oncology Fund. She wrote that she knew it was not enough. She wrote, "It will never be enough. We took something from you that cannot be returned, and we made a calculation that was wrong in every way that a calculation can be wrong. If you want to talk, we are here. If you never want to, we understand. We love you. We are so sorry." I called my therapist. I read her the letter over the phone. "How does it feel?" Anna said. "I don't know yet," I said. "Like something has shifted, but I don't know where it lands." She said that was enough for now. I waited 6 months. I still wait before I do most things now. Waiting, I have learned, is not the same as doing nothing. In the fall of 2024, I called my mother. She answered before the first ring finished. "Hi, Mom." A long pause. "Sophie." "Oh, Sophie." I told her I wanted to try. Not to repair everything. Not to pretend. Just to sit across a table and see if there was anything left worth tending to. I told her to come to Hamilton. I told her to bring my father. I said one morning. That was all. No promises about what came after. They came on a Saturday in October. They stood at my door looking smaller than I had ever seen them. My father's hair had gone fully gray. My mother was wearing the same coat she had worn to Lucas's funeral, and I wondered if she had done that on purpose. I made coffee. Ryan made eggs. 4 places at the table. We sat down. It was quiet for a while. My mother kept looking at Lucas's photo on the shelf above the TV. No one said anything about it. Everyone saw it. After a while, my father asked about my work. I told him about the advocacy work, about the policy brief we were drafting, about the girl I had helped get a stable placement after 18 months in care. He listened. He did not say much. He looked at the table a lot. When they were getting their coats to leave, my mother turned back at the door. "Can we come again sometime?" she asked. "Just something small. Breakfast maybe, if you want." I thought about it. I looked at Ryan. I looked at my mother's face, which was trying very hard not to ask for too much. "Maybe," I said. "I'll let you know." My father's voice broke a little. "Thank you," he said. "Thank you for even this much." They left. Ryan put his arm around me, and we stood at the window and watched their car back out of the driveway and turn down the street. "How do you feel?" he said. I thought about it. "Like it's a beginning," I said. "Not a good beginning. Not a clean one. But something. I still don't have a word for what I feel when I think about my parents. It isn't forgiveness. It might never be. There are days when I'm making coffee in the morning, and I think about Lucas wearing his hockey jersey on Friday nights, and the weight of it sits so heavy on my chest. I have to put the kettle down and breathe. But I also think about this. My parents sold the house where they raised us, and gave every dollar to a fund that will help kids like Lucas get the treatment they need before the window closes. Families who cannot come up with $340,000 in 8 weeks will have a better chance because of that money. Some of those kids will live. Some of those parents will not have to write what I have written here. Melissa calls once a month. Sometimes I answer. We talk about small things. We are not close. We may not be for a long time, maybe ever. That is okay. I donated a kidney to my sister not because I forgave anyone, and not because the damage was repairable, and not because the $612,000 erased what was lost. I did it because I am the person who read Lucas his books, and learned all his favorite songs, and sat with him in room 412 at McMaster Children's when he was working so hard to stay. I did it because I know what it means to be the person who shows up. I did it because I am not them. Lucas would have done it without a second's hesitation. He would have done it with a sticker on his shirt and a grin that made the whole room warmer. I am not as generous as he was, but I am trying. I planted a second maple last spring, right beside the first one. Ryan asked what it was for. I thought about it. "So, his tree has company," I said. Ryan nodded like that was a perfectly reasonable answer. He went inside and made tea, and we sat in the backyard and watched the 2 small trees in the October light. They were both gold, side by side, both reaching. If this story moved you, please subscribe to Revenge Clips. It takes real time to find and tell stories like this, and your support is what makes it possible to keep going. Drop a comment and tell me, would you have donated? I read everyone. And if you know someone who is carrying something like this, someone navigating a betrayal they can't talk about, someone grieving in a way that has no clean name, share this with them. Sometimes knowing someone else has been in that darkness and found a way to stand back up is the only thing that helps. Thank you for listening.